Well, first of all, here with the wonderful James from Replicate Labs. James, thanks for coming on. Would you mind giving us just a really quick kind of high-level overview about who you are, what you do, and who you help?
I'm James. I run a company called Replicate Labs. You already said that. Butchered that already. We run a business that offers AI managers to go-to-market employees. So think of that as a real partner that's there to work with you on everything that you need, from preparing for meetings, overcoming objections, helping figure out the health of your deals and all that kind of stuff, right? So a real thing that you can work with and speak to and chat to and video call with, that evolves with you over time and just helps you get better and better and better at your job.
I've seen your product, and like you've obviously been sharing it a lot in the Slack channel when we speak like almost every day, and it is absolutely incredible. Like, and I've seen the feedback that you get from your ICP. It's absolutely like everyone's mind blown by it. So yeah, 100%. If you're just watching this video just to see James, would 100% go and check that out. Tell us more about the actual people that are using it. Like, you've obviously got a lot of sales experience within that realm. Like, you've been doing it for a hell of a long time. Like, tell us more about like your background and how that led to your products at the minute. Like, how has that all come about?
Yeah, sure. So I spent most of my career at a company called SimilarWeb. I got lucky. I joined them as a small startup. I was one of their first go-to-market employees. I joined in enterprise sales. And when I left almost 9 years later, they were a 1,500 person public company. So I had a lot of amazing opportunities to do different things and lead different teams and stuff. So I started out in enterprise sales, did that for the first few years, selling their market intelligence software into mostly Fortune 500 companies. And then I built their customer success function. So by the time I left, we were responsible for, I think it's like 200 million plus in annual revenue, and owning the retention for that. It was a large team, about 150 people. And I also owned the enablement function. So we created a whole team within the business whose job was to teach all of the other functions how to be more effective. And that meant that I had both sides of the coin, right? I had the people that were hand raising and saying, I need help, I need coaching, I need to be taught how to do things different, I need to solve these problems, right? All this kind of stuff. And then I had the team that was there to do that. We followed all the playbooks. We met with a lot of well-known, well-respected enablers. We had a near unlimited budget, right? I hope nobody shouts at me for saying that. Might not be the case anymore. So we basically built like what on paper was the perfect enablement function. And then we went out and we did everything that we were supposed to do. And every single time we ran a program, we had the same pattern every time, which was we'd get this overwhelmingly positive feedback from go-to-market. This was amazing. One person said it was going to change their life, right? The training that we ran, like just this ridiculously like hyperbole of it. But we recorded calls, and 2 weeks later we go and look at the calls and nobody was doing anything. They were just doing everything the same way they used to. And for 2 years, we tried and we experimented and we tested with all sorts of different stuff to try and change that outcome. Like, it's good that you like the training. A lot of people don't, right? It's good. But it doesn't mean anything if it doesn't, A, translate to you actually doing something different in the real world, and B, that something different that you're doing actually improving your outcomes, right? So it's not just doing it, it's making sure that increases your win rate, decreases your sales cycle duration, increases your average order value, that kind of stuff, right? And we came to the conclusion that it was nothing to do with the design of the programs or to do with the intent of the people. Like, a lot of managers get a lot of stick for not doing things. Like, everyone was trying, right? And it just wasn't working. So the conclusion we came to was the traditional enablement is screwed because it's led only by people, and people definitionally have limited capacity, right? And varying levels of competency and capability and all that kind of stuff. And AI was becoming like more popular 3 years ago. It was starting to really move from hype to something people were actually using. So we thought, let's go and figure out a way to fix it. So that's like the origin story. So our mission from 3 years ago to today is exactly the same. It's how do we make it so that when a rep is in a situation that decides a revenue outcome, right? They're getting ghosted, they get hit with an objection, they come off a call and it just doesn't feel quite right, or they're trying to learn something new. How do we make sure that we help them in a way that actually motivates them to do something differently, and then we make sure that that has a real outcome? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know many sales teams that don't have the problem, right?
Well, I mean, three. I mean, we experienced it obviously directly, and then I probably met a few hundred sales organizations in the last few years. We've directly supported thousands of reps. We're fortunate to work. We're exclusive partners with companies like Value Selling and Gap Selling, and we have partnerships with Force Management, so like the literal world experts on training and coaching. And then clients like Okta and Quest, and we work with GitLab and really big technology giants. And every single person, like, that's the thing that kills their business when they put all this money, resources into change because something is wrong with the funnel. And because everyone pats them on the back for a job well done on the training, they forget about the data and move on, and you're just in this like hamster wheel of everyone's spinning and feels busy, but nobody's actually moving forwards. And then to your question about who we work with, everyone has this problem, right? Like I'm a founder in a small by design go-to-market organization. I do a lot of our own sales. Like, I'm experienced. I still run into issues and problems where I could do with someone to bounce ideas off of and give me some advice, right? So we work with individuals, we work with small teams like Series A, B, Series B companies. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we work with really large enterprises that have their own playbooks and their own methodologies and are trying to standardize and make sure that it makes a difference.
Yeah, cool, man. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And out of all those different companies, obviously, there's quite a range that you guys can go after. Like, what have you guys been doing to drive meetings, to drive opportunities? I know we're going to get onto kind of the LinkedIn side, but like at a high level, like, what have you guys been doing?
Yeah, we've got two real paths for go-to-market. So one is partner-led. So some of those organizations I mentioned, so Value Selling, Gap Selling, Medic Academy in particular, they in various ways, they kind of resell the solution onto their customers, right? So if someone's hiring a company to roll out a new sales methodology, then by definition, they recognize the need to change something in their business and the way that they go to market, right? Which is exactly what we're here for. And if they're offering training, whether that's an SKO or online or something else, then they're going to have this problem of when the training organization steps away, right? Like, how do we know that this actually embeds? So it's a real like natural synergy. So like Value Selling is probably the most advanced that we do this with. They've created a whole product called Val that they sell in as part of their packages to new customers. So you now get the training, but then you get the coaching afterwards, which is the thing that's really going to embed it. So that's one route to market. And then we have our own direct selling business where we've got some self-serve stuff. And then we also sell directly to enterprises, typically ones that have all of this mapped out, right? So they've got all of their own documentation and stuff. And then we have an AI manager called Katie, who's designed to like adopt your worldview, right? As opposed to you start working with Keenan, that's the gap selling thing, right? So different businesses need different things. And like any startup, I think we've tried everything, right? We did direct mail campaigns. We did a lot of influencer stuff on LinkedIn. We've done a lot of cold email. We actually saw some decent success with like interactive experiences. So we create these like embeddable miniature versions of our products and then put them out behind a gate, right? And then like a lead magnet. So, and then we've done a lot of like founder-led content as well, right? Like mainly on LinkedIn, but sporadically historically. But yeah, we've basically tried everything. At one stage, we considered, and we bought one, and then we decided not to do it because I think it was too expensive. But we considered buying giant blow-up phones, but like old like brick phones, you know, from like the 80s, right? Like they were like, you know, a few feet high. And mailing them out to people and saying like, isn't it time that you modernize the way that you go to market, like that kind of stuff. So we thought about that, but we didn't do it. But yeah, like we've kind of experimented with everything, and there's only really two channels that consistently produce results. One is partners, one is LinkedIn.
Nice, awesome. And tell us about how you've been using LinkedIn in the last, say, like 4 or 5 months, and how that's been changing the business, because you guys have obviously, like, we've been working together, but you guys have kind of taken your own spin on it as well, which has been like really, really cool to see, and taking like we've given you some stuff, and then you've got your own ideas, which is like very, very cool. So how's that been rolling out for you?
Yeah, I think we I don't know if struggle is the right word, but like we're a very like innovative, experiment based company. So if we have an idea, we typically run with it. I guess it's a blessing and a curse sometimes, depending on which way it goes, right? So LinkedIn historically, if we actually profile our direct revenue and we actually trace it back and attribute it to where we got it from, almost all of it came from LinkedIn, even though we've had a ton of meetings from like outbound and all that kind of stuff. If you look at actual revenue, almost all of it comes from LinkedIn, and even the stuff that comes in through email tends to be secondary. So we think we've hit them cold. And then when we actually have discovery, they say, like, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a couple of years. I love what you guys are doing. It's like, oh, that's nice. It's nice to hear, but also like the primary attribution therefore isn't the email. The email was just the trigger to bite and take a meeting with me, right? So we've experimented with this for a couple of years. Like I said, we used to do influencer, then we moved more to content from me. And now it's a little bit of a hybrid. But it was never consistent. We never had an actual plan or strategy. It was let's go and follow this trend, right? So when video was really popular on LinkedIn, when they first released the feed, we racked up like millions of impressions. I don't have many followers, but we were able to rack up millions of impressions, but nothing happened from it. It's an ego boost, right? It doesn't help the business at all. It was actually a waste of time. So we never had a strategy, and that's why we started working with you guys to actually think like this is you would never cold. I think probably a good way to think about it is I would never run a cold email campaign without thinking about it. So why am I just picking up my phone and posting on LinkedIn to 9,000 followers, 2/3 of which are in my ICP, without thinking about it, right? Like it's kind of silly when you think of it that way. So we started being a lot more intentional. We started leaning less into fads and trends and more into our own identity and experimentation, and also actual best practices, a lot of which that we got from you guys. And I think a big thing was we fought our own desire on some things, like the way that I write posts. I'm dyslexic, so probably shouldn't be writing that many posts, but the format that I would write in, the layout of the text, the hook and all that kind of stuff, like is something that I was historically kind of stubborn on, right? Versus, like the one line per point, like readability type stuff. So yeah, basically now when we post on LinkedIn, it's something that's planned, that's thought about, that's either an intentional experiment in format or delivery or emotion or language or tone or call to action, or is completely planned as part of like a coordinated campaign, right? And we've increased our posting frequency. We're posting about 4 times a week quite consistently, and every post has an objective, either to get engagement that we then hit in follow-ups and DMs, or to get people to click through to an event or a lead magnet, or something else. But there's always a point. Everything's got intent. It's not random anymore.
Yeah, you guys have been absolutely crushing it, like for real. And you mentioned a little bit there about some of the direct revenue being attributed to LinkedIn. Would you mind? I'm not saying to share like revenue numbers specifically if you're not comfortable with, of course. But in terms of like leads, I know you've got the event that's happening and you generated other leads off the back of it. Like, would you give us a ballpark of like what kind of numbers you're looking at there in terms of lead generation and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, revenue, we don't disclose our revenue numbers. I know you didn't ask. We don't disclose our revenue numbers, but I can tell you that about 70% of our ARR has come from LinkedIn, right? Either directly like a hand raise, or from what I said before, like you find out that the real reason is actually that they were following your content and that kind of stuff. All of our partnerships came from it, and that's one of the things that makes us so unique, right? So LinkedIn as a presence in our business is significant. And then yeah, more recently, I mean the thing that we're doing at the moment, I think is a good example. So we've got the next generation of our software. It comes out on the, I don't know when this is going to publish, but it comes out on the 18th of February. And for the last 3 weeks, we've been running a coordinated campaign in order to drive RSVPs to an event. And we've got an event on LinkedIn, but then our primary channel is through a landing page. It's this was advice from you guys, right? A landing page where you also subscribe to the mailing list, right? So you get ongoing value as well as the event. And we set a soft target of 500 people that we made up out of nowhere, right? That was how many people we wanted to get. And the event's in 5 days, and we're on 480 RSVPs, which our partners like work with the gap selling guys with Keenan. They tell us that like their events never go above 300, and they're a literal publisher, right? So that have sold millions of books and a hugely successful entity. So that's come from content, it's come from partnerships, it's come from mailing lists, it's come from DM campaigns, like this big intentional planned thing that you guys have helped us with kind of from start to finish as well. So yeah, we think we're going to hit the 500, and then hopefully they turn up.
Yeah, man, that's honestly. So it's really been. When did you guys launch that kind of campaign? I can't remember. Was it like 4 weeks ago?
About 2-3 weeks ago. It was three max. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've generated nearly 500 in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with real income, right? Yeah, and data capture. They filled in a form in order to register. So and join the mailing list. So yeah, it's significant. And some of the people, won't say who, but like when we look through the list, like the ICP match is very, very high. Now our ICP is very broad as well. It's specific and broad at the same time. But anyway, the ICP match is very high. There's not really many random. There's not really too many like there's a little bit of it, but not too many like competitor creep, right? That kind of stuff. And some of it is like really like there's a CEO of a 500-person company is on there. There's multiple like enablement leaders, L&D leaders from really large organizations. There's like a global head of learning and development at a business that has about 5,000 salespeople. Right. So there's a lot of real heavy hitters that I think if we were trying to hit with outbound or ABM and stuff would take months and have a very low success rate. Whereas a really targeted event with really tight messaging of what we solve for and what we're showing seems to have landed a lot better. So yeah.
Nice, man. Absolutely crushed it. One last for me.
Ask me in a week.
Yeah, I mean, I know the event's on Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to it, man. Final one for me. If you were to have a chat with anyone that was just looking at starting their personal brand, looking at getting started on LinkedIn, like what kind of advice would you give them to give that initial push to get started with it for their business?
I would say that it's very easy to look at established like influencer type people and see that they're getting a ton of engagement, and the reason they get that engagement is because they've got 100,000 followers, right? Like that kind of thing. What we've learned from actually working with a lot of influencers and stuff, right, is most of the people that comment and react to posts are not people that you, like in your ICP that you would necessarily want to speak to, right? And LinkedIn's algorithm is not as good now as it was 6 months ago for impressions and volume, but it seems to be pretty good for specificity. So I have a much lower audience count than that. And I get like direct messages from people. I got one from someone that said, I'm finalizing my budget for this year. Can you meet me? Here's a calendar link. Right? So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. So what I would say is like, I was really put off and really hesitant to do anything because I don't have a follower base. I don't have high engagement when I post something. Like I felt like the amount of time and effort to post 4 or 5 days a week consistently would like just be insignificant in comparison to what I would get out of it. And actually it's driven the vast majority of our business. So I would say like highly recommend. I think more than ever, LinkedIn is now giving newer, smaller creators more of a foothold than ever before. And posts have a longer lifespan. It's not a news cycle anymore, right? Like you see posts on the feed from like 3 weeks ago that only have 5 engagements, and it's because people are actually looking at them or they're clicking through to the profile. Like there's nuance to it, I think. So yeah, my advice would be don't be put off by the big dogs. There's a lot of value to be had for everybody, I think.
Nice one. Awesome. I have nothing else to add unless you want to.
I just say it's great working with you guys. I think like it's when you start working with a business, you think about it like mechanically, like what am I getting? What am I paying for? Like, what do the deliverables look like that kind of thing, right? Like, it's very black and white. What's my objectives off the back of it? I think that one of the biggest benefits that we've had from working with you is just having a partner, right? That's there to bounce ideas off of, to share results with, right? To also have some accountability on, right? Simple thing. What are you working on this week? How did it go? That kind of stuff. Like, a lot of value proposition of what we do with AI for salespeople, right? Like, just like that secondary presence, I think, is something that we certainly undervalued a lot when we came into it. And as we've actually started going out and doing stuff has been really beneficial. So yeah, thanks.
I appreciate that, man. I remember the first early days where I was like, hey, where are you at? Tagging you and like keeping you on, which is fun, man. And now you're just doing it all yourselves, which is like amazing. And you guys really take the initiative with it, which is killer, because that's why you guys have got so far along with the results and the leads and the events and everything like that. So yeah, it's been fun to see, man. It's been amazing working together.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, likewise.